Hey Hillcresters, Pastor Doug here. Thanks for tuning in to watch this video because I really want to talk to you a little bit about what's happening. We're coming up here on August 30th for our Back to Church Sunday. If you're not aware, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Are we in the middle? Maybe we're at the end. Maybe we're at the beginning. You see, that's the problem. We don't know. But we do know that we have to find a new normal. We're in it. And there's no guarantee that this thing is ending or changing drastically anytime soon. But we now have to accept that we are in a new normal. And so we have to go into it like that. There are things that we have been doing with this pandemic from the beginning that we have now discovered or been told are not helpful. There are also things that we were told weren't helpful or necessary at the beginning that now we're told are really important. I mean, at one point we were told to wipe all our groceries. Now they say don't have to wipe your groceries. When this whole thing started, they said you don't need to wear a mask. If it's not an N95, it's a waste of time. And now it's like any old thing that you can get on your face for the most part is better than nothing, so put a mask on. It has become a political issue. You know, conservatives, less restrictive, liberals, more restrictive. Within the faith community, within Christianity, there's division in this. There are those that think if you don't wear a mask, you're not showing love to your brothers and sisters in Christ, that is the way that you show love is by wearing a mask. There are others that say God is for us and, you know, our faith is in him, so we don't need to wear a mask. There are even some that say wearing a mask is like taking on the mark of the beast. So don't put a mask on because we don't want to be, you know, become this one world government. And I mean, the things that are set out there, it's unbelievable. And people are venomous about this. Within the Christian community, they're fighting with one another, demonizing one another because of how they're responding to the pandemic. There's not a unifying way that we're supposed to do this. There's not, you know, I mean, the CDC has some guidelines for churches, but they're not guidelines that address all of the issues within a church. Denominations aren't necessarily coming out with guidelines for their denomination that they have to follow. Each church is kind of left to their own. There's been some research that has been done by Lifeway and Barna Group and Pew Research to determine where things have been, where things are, and where things are going. Some interesting numbers, and I jotted down some of these numbers here. First of all, when churches closed back in March, it was pretty easy to close for the most part when it came to how congregations felt about it. Like there was unity in the closing decision because, I mean, the NBA canceled their season. Things were closing left and right. It seemed obvious, necessary, and we were told you got to do this now because once you realize the need for it, it's too late. Well, when you look at a whole as to what has happened and what trajectory we're on as a Christian community in America, 40% of attendees of churches, that means that they were going to church prior to the pandemic. 40% of people have gone to another church during the pandemic, either by watching online or attending now that those churches have opened. That is really tough for churches to survive that kind of a swap or switch or transition within their churches. 18% of people, which is a huge number for this next statistic, 18% of people have already changed churches. So they've experienced something different online or they've experienced something different in person at another church and they've just said, I like this better, I want to do this, and they have switched. That's big. 40% of church attendees are not going to church at all. 20% of people who have not been engaged that have, or that were going to church are now not only not going to church, but are not ever going to plan on going back. It's tough. I mean, these numbers are really hard. Even in the churches, it's trying to reopen. 1 out of 5 people say that their church is too restrictive, and 1 out of 10 people say their church is too relaxed in their reopening structure. Schools are getting ready to open. Schools across the country that are opening are seeing big surges in, you know, coronavirus cases. Are we going to see that in Sioux Falls? We don't know. Who is the church to follow? I mean, we as Hillcrest, who are we supposed to follow when it comes to guidelines on how to open and who do we believe? Because there's so many conflicting things. You know, listen to my guy or this doctor or this thing, or the CDC is the right thing, the president's the right thing, the governor's the right thing, you know, our mayor is the right thing. I mean, even our mayor talked about the possibility of mandatory masks in Sioux Falls if this spike that we're currently on continues to grow and schools haven't even opened yet. So will we have a mandated mask? Well, then that would mean we would here as well. But when we closed, we used the Sioux Falls School District for determining when we were going to close. If they were closed, we were closed. If they're open, we were open. And we, as a leadership council, are still going to continue that as we move into the fall. But do we do our children's ministry and our student ministries the exact same way the school is doing their programming? The questions are immense. I mean, we have, yes, decided, no, we're not doing food. So, unless food is prepackaged, pre-prepared, like a box kind of thing that someone can grab, but no community food kinds of things. We're trying to be smart about this, but it's difficult. There's not easy decisions here. But at the same point, we want to be smart about this. We just don't know what to do. I'm serious. We do not know what to do. There's nothing clear that tells us what to do. We have to do something. And, I want people to be safe. I don't know what safe is. I don't know what an appropriate risk is and isn't. And it's hard to find clear information because you can find a very smart person that says, do this and you're fine. And you'll find someone else very smart that says, do this and you're not fine. And I'm not an authority on it. I'm trying to find an authority on it. I can follow CDC guidelines. If I follow CDC guidelines, they're saying everybody wears a mask. No gathering, But yet churches all over Sioux Falls are also opening, and we have people from our church going to those churches. The longer we would stay closed, the more people would just go find other places to worship. Online experience is good and very necessary for some of our families, but not what everybody wants to continue having. We have to find a new normal, how to do this in a safe way. So we picked August 30th is our back to school Sunday because school's open that week. And so we're going to open, and it's going to have some restrictions, but not many. We're not going to have social distancing, but we will have a more spread out seating. We're not requiring masks, but I'm going to wear a mask. Our leadership is going to wear a mask because I also, wearing masks, I don't lose my freedom. I actually get to have the freedom to choose whether I'm going to wear it. And I think it's helpful for some people and makes people feel comfortable, and it might be the right thing to do. I'm not saying whether it is or isn't, but because of all that, I'll wear one. Why not? We're doing everything we can to identify where some of our weak spots are and what we can do to shore those things up. There's not going to be coffee when you come on the 30th. Why go to church, right? But here's an option. If we had volunteers that would be willing to come and serve coffee, like pour it, pump it, and then sugar packs, and you hand someone a cup, we could do that. We just can't have it where everybody's touching everything because that's not sanitary for what we're trying to do right now. We're sanitizing between and after services. The entire place gets fogged with this stuff that is a sanitizer. All surfaces are getting wiped down. We're going to do the best we can to keep you safe and to do all the things that we're being told to do. And whether these things are necessary or not, whether they're helpful or not, we're not asking that question as much as we're saying what's being recommended and what can we do to address those recommendations. I do know this. The Bible says that we're to love one another. And that's what I want to happen here at Hillcrest. I don't want to fight about this. And when we go back to church on the 30th, I don't want you to also think that means back to church means you have to come to church. You may stay at home and watch online. Come back to church online or watch online. This is as much a part of this community as if you're here. And whatever is the right decision for your family, we want you to do that in full faith with our blessing as we come together as a church on the 30th, online and in person, to worship God. And so we invite you to do that. And I would love to get a little information about what your plans might be for your family, knowing that it may change. So down in the description or wherever it is, I don't know. There's a Google form which you can let us know if you're planning to come to the 9, the 10:30 in person, or whether you're going to do the 10:30 stream service. There's questions about the 180 student ministry and children's, how many of your kids or what programs you might be a part of. And it's an anonymous survey. There's a place at the bottom where you can put your name, and there's plenty of places for extra comments and things that you want to communicate back to us. There's spaces for that too. And if every family could fill out just one time that form, one per family, it will give us the information we need for opening on the 30th. So as it sits right now, August 30th, back to church Sunday. We'll see you there. God bless. Thanks for watching.